Well, hello everyone. It's a little bit 19 past 7, unfortunately. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Got caught up with some adulting. You know how that goes. But yeah, so I had to take care of a few things before I got started with the stream tonight. But tonight, as I stated on my last stream that I did on my Facebook career page, and you can see that on my YouTube channel if you like as well. I was talking about doing something different and trying something different for the night, because I have been showcasing a No Man's Sky piece lately, which was taking me a lot longer than I wanted to get it done. And all the little jarring little pen tool stuff, me inking and everything. So tonight I thought, well, maybe I'll just draw a little bit, so let you guys see a little bit of how I'm drawing to get to that stage, and maybe a little bit more sketch, because I had some people ask me, hey, I want to see you before you take all this time doing this and putting all the inking and stuff in it, you know, can you please just, you know, draw just something really quick, as quick as you can, because unfortunately I'm not that fast. I'm getting there, but tonight that's what I was going to do. I was going to do this. And this is a alien concept that I have been messing around with a long time ago. And as you guys can see, I'll zoom in here. This is all originally done in pencil. If you've never caught my streams before, I used to do everything in pencil. Then I would scan it, and then I would ink it in the computer and color it, because that's just the way I prefer doing. If you'd like to know more information about that, you can see my other videos on Legacy 717 Studios on YouTube and whatnot. But give me a few moments, chat, because my phone here is not doing what I need to do, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone's messages real quick. And let me get set up to make sure I'm up and running. Stream manager, please. Can I have stream manager? Yes, I have a stream manager. That's wonderful. I can see my chat. That's awesome. Okay, so like I said, yeah, it's been an off evening, so really busy today and trying to play catch up when, you know, full-time job on top of everything else. But let me stop rambling at this point, and let's do some art. So again, this is an alien concept that I was doing for my space opera. I have tons of these that I've drawn, and there's multiple different heads and stuff, and I'm sure you guys can see the name up there, Egalians. So I took this little thing out. I was messing around with hands. These are really old drawings and stuff, just to let you guys see that. Me deselect it. Like I said, I'm running behind, so I hate being behind. You know, you feel like you're being rushed and you're trying to do everything. But you can tell, see, I was drawing out, trying to feel if it was like multiple trunks or, you know, tentacle type things. You know, trying to figure out its hands, you know, just really quick sketches. And then here too, like on the body where I moved it over so I wouldn't have to worry about that, because I was trying to remember how I was forming that. Like, how would they move? What would there be structure wise? What was going on underneath? Anyway, let's go back over here to the actual piece where we're going to be doing tonight. And these are, again, I don't know if I've already stated it because I'm all over the place, are elephants. They're based off an elephant type mentality to a degree, at least for the trunk, you know, a creature that would rely, because if you look at science and you look at the possibility of the different types of aliens and stuff that you could have, there's all kinds of stuff, but there still would need something that would have to be able to hold a tool, to be able to construct things and stuff. So when I'm drawing out aliens, and even though I'm having fun with it and I'm creating whatever, I'm just going along, I still try to think of a little bit of the functionality with it. You know, can it hold a tool? Is it going to have a standard bipedal body like we see so much in sci-fis, where it's basically just a critter on top of a human body? And there's quadrupeds, tripeds, there's all kinds of bodies and stuff you could do. But this one I kind of settled on based upon the backstory and stuff that I came up with them, that I wanted to go with this route. But again, in character creation and concepts and stuff, it's all subjective sometimes. Like you can draw something out and you can have a really cool idea and then it becomes something else and it becomes something else. Recently I saw a video which I thought was pretty cool, was on YouTube, and about a guy talking about the character concepts that was lost for like the game Street Fighter series. And it was interesting to see some of their original concepts and how they were doing things and what they decided upon and what they went with, and learning about the Baz. I had no idea about this Baz character, so I was like, that's pretty cool. I like this Baz. But again, I really don't know what this looks like. Like I said, I just have like a basic structure. So this is more of me creating stuff and messing around than trying to compose a whole piece and not have that kind of stress to perform sometimes. Because I'm still getting used to be able to draw in real time and people seeing my work and, you know, being concerned that people, you know, is it going to be enjoyable? I mean, am I talking too much? Well, of course I'm going to talk too much. I ramble, you know, but how do I showcase something that's worth your time watching? You know, and I'm so slow sometimes, and I'm still getting used to doing things digitally because, like I said, I can... it is a different transition when you go from having a pencil to doing it on an actual data pad. And again, if you had caught some of my previous screens, I talked about that I've been back to my Inturos, Wacom Inturos 3, which is I have to look at the screen to draw instead of the natural flow of this because my tablet won't work on this thing. My XP tablet, unfortunately, my computer only has one port. Sorry. Oh, it's been a day. I don't know about you, chat. Hope you... I mean, it's just been a strange week with everything that's been going on here in the States. Lots of things have just been driving me crazy. So, you know... So it's nice to be able to just kind of, like, get in here and just create something and forget about the world for a little while, hopefully. So... But yeah, I mean... This critter, like too, like with the trunks, I was looking at like elephant trunks, but I didn't want it to be exactly kind of like, I would say, sometimes the Disney way of handling things, where it's so cartoony that you can quickly identify what animal it was based upon, or mammal, or insect, or whatever, and that has its place, and I'm not against that. I was like, I really think that I don't want to limit myself on what I can kind of just create, because that's part of the fun of the process of drawing, isn't it? You know, just playing with it and seeing what you come up with and just enjoying what you're doing, no matter what level you do it as. But again, I really don't know. It was like I said, I've had some interesting takes on this character when I was messing around with it before. And like you see here, like it's got the more bulging cheeks like an elephant would have up here. But then in this sketch, I kind of went inside a little bit more. Almost made his eyes, like he almost looks kind of cool without having an actual like pupil. So that's a possibility. But again, it's just one of those things I'm going to play with and see what I like. Because he kind of gets really cartoony when you add an eyeball, or kind of freaky. I don't know. That's one thing I love about drawing aliens and monsters sometimes, because there is no set standard on things. I mean, there's standards for stuff, but you get to have a little bit more fun than when you're drawing like a human, because it has to be identifiable as a human. It has to have a certain archetype, a certain template to say this is a human being. Where with aliens, and that's why a lot of artists that I've met, and you probably have heard about, talk about, oh, I love drawing aliens and monsters and stuff, because it allows us to play. It allows us to like just have fun with what we're doing. But yeah, it's like I don't think I want to really give him like a nostril too. It's like I could right here. Like it could come out here and play around with it and have like some kind of indication of a nostril. And then, like I said, it looks like I was kind of go with this like segmented type thing where it's not really a trunk like you would normally see. It's just more like it's segmented together. Or, you know, breaking it down like you see up here. My Wacom won't go up that far. Like the little lines breaking it up like from a different type of critter or whatever. But of course, because I like putting a lot of little details in things, and I've been trying to work on not doing that as much. I'm probably, I need to tone it down sometimes. But if you're doing that stuff for comics or for something that you're gonna have to redraw over and over, I've always been told that not to add that many details because it's just too much for someone to ink over, to draw over and over, or even animations. It's no reason why there's a lot of simplification on a lot of things. But for 3D models per se, that's when you can really get elaborate with a lot of things and just play with it. And see, it's interesting, the choices that you can make. So but yeah, it's like, maybe we give him like a little very kind of docile, not docile, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like his eyelid goes over it to make him appear a little bit more docile, as it were, or more squinty. Let me erase some of the stuff out that I did. See how that looks. Oh, that's this old sketch underneath. I was like, well, I don't remember drawing that, but maybe I did. So, and if you notice here too, like over here, I added like little hairs, or just kind of poking out, and I'm like, that's kind of neat. Maybe he's older. Maybe that's how little tactile fibers that feel the air around it and sense things and stuff. It all depends, like I said. And I like this up here that I did with the cheekbone, as it were, where it's bulging in this interesting shape. So I might try to keep that, just to see how it goes. But I'm trying to be like really loose, and instead of putting those little bumps, I think I'll just do it this way. But again, this is one of those things where you just get to have fun with it, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do something a little bit different tonight for my stream, was to give just show myself just having some fun. Like art, that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be enjoying what you're doing, because I feel like the last streams I had were maybe just a little bit too much of me talking about what I was trying to achieve, and then concerned about doing everything, and I don't know. We all get in our heads sometimes, if that makes any sense. I want this to do this over here. Still hard to do that sometimes with these pads. Ooh, I kind of like that better. Oops, I thought I hit erase, but I didn't. Yeah, where that maybe comes out like right here. So he does have some like hidden nostril type thing. I mean, he would have a pretty big nose, but again, he might not even need a nose, considering he could be breathing through his trunk. So that may not be necessary. It may just need to be like just part of his, actual skin crusher. But I like it. I don't know if it works yet, but I like it. So, but yeah, I've just been trying to see how this stuff just comes together. Is really amazing. Sorry, I am all over the place tonight, and yeah, I'm usually all over the place, but not like this. So it's, like I said, it's been a day. It's been a crazy day. So I'll put, maybe we'll put more of those little circle additions things here and there to break some of that up. Add some different textures to him. It's almost like he's got a mouth and it's coming for his nose, type thing. So, and I guess we would see partially of his eye here if he's kind of looking at it. But see, I can put some more lines in there to match that up a little bit. So let's see. And then we'll get rid of that quickly made little eyeball here and try to do something that's a little bit more better off. Ooh, may have to zoom in on that one. Ooh, look at that. That's like very, he's almost like this old man, but he also looks like kind of menacing here, doesn't he? Like he's kind of like putting, like, it's like, I'm tired of these kids or these humans. They're always causing all these problems all the time. You know, stuff like that. So, but again, too, if I take out the little pupil part with the little circle, I mean, he kind of looks cool just like that almost. I don't know. Like I said, that's a fun part when you're doing concepts, is that you kind of just, like I said, you play with it. You see where the piece takes you. What is it saying to you? You know, what does it say to, ooh, wait a minute. Something's going on there. My apologies. It's this new pencil here. It doesn't want to go very small. Let's go see if we can fix that. Ooh, there we go. So, and then we'll bring that eye out. So, and then we'll go over here. See, I'm really heavy-handed here too when I do this stuff, because I'm used to doing that with my pencil, which has pretty much destroyed my whole tablet here, because I got it all scraped up for 10 years worth of work. Oh, but it's nice to have it. I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's like, we'll go there. I don't know. But like, for you guys here on the chat, anybody's joining me tonight, hopefully, since I wasn't trying to be super late. What do you guys like with aliens? I'd be curious for you guys think about that. You know, what do you prefer? Do you prefer just something that's more recognizable? Do you want something that is completely off the wall, like H.A. Gregor's Alien, which is one of the best alien designs ever? I mean, it literally is called Alien, but man, that is just way crazy. On how he did that. So he was definitely in his own little realm on that one. So, but I don't know about you. So, and if you, I'd be curious to see what you guys think. And also, if for you guys who watch this later or catch this on my other channels and stuff, you know, I'd be curious to see what your thoughts about that is. You know, what do you like seeing when it comes to alien designs? Do you like the old Star Trek way where everybody's bipedal, or do you like something it's a little bit more off the wall type things? I like a little bit of mixture of both, really. But I do like some really crazy aliens, especially like mechanical aliens. Those are really cool, because you can get really crazy with those. Or any kind of like insect type of alien, because they get like, you can go crazy. And yeah, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from, though. It comes from nature, because, you know, nature is it's all kinds of art in nature, let me tell you. And that's where we get our concepts and our ideas from, and how we do things and stuff based upon reality. And like I said, I had already been looking at some reference for critters and stuff. And like I said, elephants, different type of things. But I didn't want to put all that up on the screen. But I think that sometimes too, after you've been doing, you know, you're looking at reference, sometimes that can impede the process. So I try to do a mixture of both when I'm creating things and just having fun, so I don't feel so restricted, you know, that I can just draw and enjoy what I'm doing, and it doesn't have to mean anything. It's just me seeing what my imagination can take me, you know, where would it lead, you know. So yeah, see, I don't like the fact that that one is so, I mean, this is nice, I think, but it didn't work out too well there. But yeah, this is, that's what I love about art. I mean, because I'm taking a bunch of squiggly little lines right now and turning them into the illusion of something. And I think that's one of the amazing parts about doing art, you know, is that you take all these fake lines, fake scribbles, you know, whatever you want to call it, and you turn it to something that it will ideally, you know, as long as you don't lose your audience sense of disbelief, as it were, that it looks like it belongs there. It looks like something, you know, like it's alive. You know, it's like the closest to the creation that we will probably ever get in some ways, if that makes any sense. I think I'm being too heavy-handed right here. Probably also too because I zoomed in so much to get that eyeball, and I have yet to zoom myself out. But normally too, like after I would do this and just sketching stuff out and see how things go, then I would go back, because that's the whole thing about concept work, that you draw this stuff over and over and over until you finally get something that works. And then if you got somebody who's making the final decision for you, you might be there for, as I've done in the past for clients and people, you might be there for a while until you find something that makes them happy about the process. But that's a cool thing too about working with other artists and other people. I mean, I've been a writer in situation working with people who do comics and with an artist and that type of thing, into other avenues, and it's like you share that knowledge with each other in that sense of that creativity, and you end up, hopefully, if you get a good enough team, working well with each other to create something magnificent, wonderful, or fantastic, if that may. But yeah, but it's interesting to be a writer and working with artists, and then being the artist working with writers and putting all that together. Yeah, definitely zoomed in way too much because this is really becoming pronounced. Yeah, it's like you can see it very well. But yeah, I kind of like that the two trunk thing. I don't really like the ends as much because it's, like I said, it's so thick. But if I take and try to curve, that's what I was trying to do. Like it had some depth, like you could see inside of it, like a partial look. And let me take that, do it that way, see how that looks. It's almost, I don't want it to look like a claw per se, though that might be interesting too. I wonder why my eraser is also on, okay, it's not. I was like, why is my eraser the pencil? My pencil brush, they don't make a lot of sense. Yeah, let's just take some of that out. It's just really heavy. And that's another thing too, like when I'm on, you know, I noticed that, like I said, you know, one of my things is that I just sometimes get too heavy with my lines, you know, just trying to be comfortable and making that final decision on where that stroke is going to be. Where is that line going to be placed? Ugh. That's a 6 too at that level. Ew. There we go. I wanted that to be more curvy though, kind of like it is over there. I may need to zoom my butt out, but I'm afraid I might not be able to make it with my hands. Or I could just make the brush smaller too, huh, chat? What do you think? Yeah, that might actually have some worthwhileness to it. There we go. All right, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, there's still something missing about it, where this one up here had at the end the more kind of like a real end of a trunk from an elephant, and it's like gripping, you know, so, and it's also turned a different direction. So I could try to mimic that a little bit. Let's see. So if we, that's kind of funky. Kind of curious to see what that looks like. Nope, not what I really wanted. It's an interesting shape, that's for sure. Alright, let's just see how we do taking that out. Try to round it instead of being pointed. Oh, drawing with the eraser tool. It's always fun. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. But it feels like it needs to come out there a little bit more instead. So let's go back over here, see if we can find that shape I'm looking for in my head, in my imagination. Oops, still got the eraser on. See if maybe if we curve it out a little bit. Maybe not make it so pronounced at that point. And then add some kind of wavy lines here where it's coming down instead of going straight down, where it's a little bit more of a natural flow with some indication of trying to lead the eyes downward just a little bit. Kind of neat. Yeah, I don't want that point. I do like the rounder version better. So, and it kind of works over here too. You know, just kind of comparing the two. Ah! So if we... Ooh, I don't like that. Sorry, I'm double checking the chat to make sure I'm not missing anybody saying, I'm still working, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better. I've been trying to get better. At least, like I said, when I was streaming on my YouTube channel and when I've been doing stuff on my Facebook, at least I can see the chat here on my phone. Because that drives me crazy that I cannot see the chats windows on those other platforms. I don't know why they don't use a phone thing service. Maybe there's some kind of technical thing that I'm not aware of, but man, it's just so much more convenient to be able to see yourself and the chat and be able to answer instead of trying to, like I did last Sunday, where I was trying to go back and forth every few minutes and check the other windows. I mean, not everybody has 20,000 monitors, but most of us have phones. So, I mean, I'm using a TV as a monitor right now, if that tells you anything. Which is pretty overwhelming sometimes when you're drawing. But, you know, just want some random shapes and sizes and stuff. I mean, I almost want to take away that trunk and, like, just do this structure right here and have something else. But it kind of works. If we darken that line a little bit, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. I need to bring it out anyway. But again, I'm not really worried on how this looks. I mean, because it's a concept, it's a sketch in a sense, you know, it's a development in process, so I'm not going to give myself too hard of a time like I normally would when I do cleanup and stuff once all this is rendered out and everything. So, but yeah, and I like the idea too where his body right here is stretching back out, like his, almost like his head is leaning, it's like his head is going over from this back, and instead of your traditional neck, it's like the neck is super wide and he's like leaning over in a sense, like his head is so heavy, you know, because if you look at elephants, you know, they're carrying a massive weight, and it's like kind of that idea where it's just like all that weight from the trunks are kind of weighing him down, you know. I don't know, it's an idea. And of course, you know, as you guys can see, you know, there's some basic human bipedal kind of forms here, and it may still be there or not, but I do like the idea that his head is like one of the biggest thing, but not too over drastic where I don't think it doesn't believe like it could he really carry his head, or when artists draw like women with breasts that are way too big for them and that they would literally fall over in reality. But you know, I don't know. I've been guilty of that a couple of times myself. All right. So instead of the big flappy ears too, I like the idea like I was doing here, where his ears are more like almost like a Batman cow almost, where they're kind of tinier, which I think balances it out a little bit better. Because if you went with like the big Dumbo ears, he would be way out here, and I don't know, maybe not per se, but it just something about it was saying go this route. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go that route right now. I really like this little eye over here. Like it's almost like he's damaged. Like maybe it would be better to do kind of reptilian instead. I don't know. Cool thing about digital too is I don't have to worry about tearing up my paper trying to erase out when I'm making concepts and stuff like this. I can just keep on going, which can also be a bad thing when you need, you know, when you gotta get stuff done. But like I said, sometimes this is what I do for, like, I do a lot of studies and a lot of like anatomy studies, and like I said in previous streams and previous time and reality too, you know, art is a journey. It's a lifelong journey, and you get better the more you do it. So, but you got to put in the time to do it to get better. And that was one thing that a lot of people I know have struggles with, and we all gotta do what we gotta do sometimes. Oh, like it's wider there, like the ear is wider there, and it shouldn't have been that wide compared to what I did over here. But let's see if we can match that up a little bit better. Ah, there we go. But what will we see? Will we see the, like, you know, where you see this right here on this little end of your ear, you know, would it fold like that? Would it go over, or would it just be one indication of a line? You know, I kind of like the idea that it's like there's layers there, because as you guys can see, I'm a big fan of layers. I'm a big fan of textures and adding things to the characters and whatnot. How about we give him some like hair too? Can be like me with hair coming out of his ears now. That remind me, I want to add those little hair fibers. I think that's a cool idea. Like he's got these little fibers to detect like maybe vibrations or senses or smells or sounds. I don't know. It could be anything, you know. And that's another thing too. Like if you have somebody who's a pretty good writer, they can take a character, and I know I've done this myself, take a character, a drawing, and give life to it. You know, give a reason why does it have that. So, you know, that's pretty interesting too sometimes, you know, to do that route. Oh, like maybe he has like some kind of like exoskeleton part here. I don't know. Like I said, I designed the backstory for them. For this race of you, and I got over 80 different alien races that I have created through the years, and some of them are a little bit more developed than others, and this is one of the ones I haven't really developed their look yet, you know. I hadn't really taken the time, and I always wanted to kind of get back to it and kind of take a look at it. Let's see, we can go right about there. Okay, yeah, I kind of like the little exoskeleton thing before we actually get into the shoulder and, you know, the arm and everything. Like it's got an extra layer there. Why? I don't know, because nature's funny. Now the question is, do we want him to have like a regular shoulder blade? Do we want him to have like a bicep? Do I want him to have that kind of arm? Which I know from what I can see from where my mind was going, that that's where I was kind of thinking, but there are also different ways to do that, so I'm gonna play around. And normally too, when, I don't know if you're aware, like when we're drawing stuff, when people are doing things like this and just playing around, you're not really used to telling everybody why you're doing it. So if I do seem like I'm all over the place a little bit more than usual, it's because that's the way my mind is working right now. I think that's part of it. Like you're just playing. So to let people into those inner thoughts is a interesting experience as of late. You know, trying to get used to that instead of doing a video like I had to in the past and recording, going back and recording over and explaining later, trying to explain instead of the actual process. But that's one of the cool things about doing this live. It can be nerve-wracking for sure, but it is kind of cool to be able to talk about the things and go through that whole process and give you something that's real. You know, something that's like, you know, this is what we do as artists. This is how we think. Not all of us think exactly the same, but your mind is always racing, you know, and that's part of the fun of it, you know, to enjoy doing that. Like, yeah, I'm going to make his hands pretty big, I think. Maybe we'll go with the traditional Ninja Turtle hand type thing where he's 3-segmented. You know, I do like a lot of, that's like, seems to be like a common theme that we have all adopted. We had like the big 2 fingers type thing. So you got the big thumb, so, you know, or you have like 3 fingers or something. I don't know. I do like the old turtle hands that were created. I still gotta do those Ninja Turtles sometime. Again, I got so many pieces and stuff to get done. Wow, he looks like really into shape too, like for doing it this way. But that's also what happens when you do a lot of anatomy, and I'm still learning all that. It's an never-ending process. But I just want to kind of feel, what are you gonna be? I like the bigger, fatter legs, like the short, like these critters are short and stocky type thing, you know? They're like, I don't feel like they'll be very tall. They could be. They could be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Enormous or overbearing or very tall, giants. But I don't know. This one says to me that, no, I need to be short and stocky. Kind of like that great artwork that of M. Bison and Street Fighter Alpha. I love the fact that he's like, so like he's shorter than what you would think he is, and he's just like Cooper White. Now it's not real per se, but it's just a cool style. I was like, man, I love the way he looks. So when they go back to seeing like skinny Bison, I was like, where's Massive Bison? You know, I kind of played around with that with his size, I think too, like in the Street Fighter 2 animated movie back in the day. Yeah, I like that version of him too. Also, it's just great watching it in the original Japanese, like, oh yeah, psycho power. I love it. Psycho power. So I did have these crazy feet. We'll go back and look at kind of that texture here. Maybe I'll just do it this way. That way I'll have to keep switching back and forth, chat. Where it's kind of like a wrinkly old, what's the word I'm looking for? I cannot think tonight, I swear. Wrinkly, like it's like layers of skin where it's wrinkly, and you know, or just like kind of like Clayface from Batman, that type of skin cruncher, if you know what I'm talking about. So let me resize this real quick, since I had already been messing around with this whenever I did this, because God knows when this was done. So, and again, if you caught any of my other streams, that's another thing I kind of talk about. There are tons of pieces and art that you will do in your life to grow as an artist, to get better as an artist, to grow in your skill set that no one will ever see, more than likely. You know, there's tons of things that I have drawn and thrown out, or I only like a part of it. And I'm like, I like this section of it, or this part of the design, or whatever, but I don't like the rest of it. And that's okay. That's fine. That's how we work. You know, you keep going and going until you put it all together. So yeah, I do like that kind of, like I said, I was going kind of like turtles, but then looks like I was trying to add like a third finger just to give them 3 fingers and have all these little wrinkles and big fingernails, because, you know, I don't know. But I wanted to kind of see that so I can get an idea of how I might implement this part of his foot. Looks like I was almost like he's got web feet in a sense here, right? And that's another cool thing about aliens, is that you can take whatever, and as long as it's believable, it's fine. It's an alien or a monster, it doesn't matter. But for some artists it does. But for me, as long as it is somewhat believable and people can accept it for what it is, and with a few realities and stuff there, I'm okay with it. But that's the beauty about different people and diversity and art in general. For different artists like different things. I have some artist friends that are very technical about everything they do. I have another one that would not even take the time that I'm doing here. Like, I'm not going to draw that many concepts for one character because that's just ridiculous. You know, well, that's what concept art is. That's why I'm not a concept artist. Right? So, you know, stuff like that. That's the beauty of putting all that there. Looks like too, I'm like not on, I don't have his heel because went in too much. It's gotta have some kind of heel, like he's not just standing on, you know, air. Let's like give him some kind of reverse jointed feet. Well, this is not entirely going the way I want it to, but it's getting there. Did I? Oh, I'm drawing on the fourth layer. I'm drawing that layer that had the hand. Oh, that's a bad thing about working on layers sometimes. I'm just going to merge it down. I don't care if I erase over that later. It's just there. Alright, I feel like I need to spread that out and add some like indication of some shadows. Like there's a shadow there. A lot of crazy lines, so let's take that out a little bit. Let's see if we can get that better. Maybe that toe is really wide too. They seem like he's got really big toes. Like, you know, like you get this structure. So, I don't know. Looks like I got the back of the heel on this one. So I can go here. This angle's a little bit easier for me to draw, obviously, I guess. I want that middle toe to go out a little bit further than the other one, though. So, and we're just going to layer that out there. Maybe add that exoskeleton from earlier, and I can go back and mess around with it here. Where it's got like parts of, maybe not a full skeleton, but just parts of it where it's covered instead. Ugh. Seems like my music is not playing everything it's supposed to either, because I keep hearing the same song, and we were supposed to be on other things. So let's go ahead and fix that. How about that one? I was like, why am I keep hearing the same song? Yeah, I kind of like his, instead of doing those crazy lines there, I like the idea of having just a little bit of a exoskeleton kind of parts or more hardened areas just spread out instead of it being uniformed. Like there, and maybe where the indication of the where your heel and everything is in the side of your foot. I don't know. Nope. Don't like that. Oh, come on. Yeah, see, normally I'm like this. I'm just listening to music or audiobooks or whatever's in the background. I wish I could play some audiobooks, but I think there might be an issue with some of that. I don't think people would appreciate that, at least the owners of it, some of those stories. And I just get quiet and I enjoy it. So I feel like I need to be talking because I'm streaming, but like I said, it's been a learning experience to try different things. And how much do I talk? How much do I not talk? I do talk. I enjoy interaction with people. I enjoy putting things together. So it's been like trying to figure that out as I go along. Well, yeah. What if we put the like some kind of exoskeleton on this part as well, chat? What do you think? That might be interesting. Well, not like that though. Like, we don't want it to look. We want it to look uniformed in a sense where it's layered, but I don't want it to look unorganic. So if I put some there and maybe some indication that it's behind the legs too, on the back end of his calves and stuff, that might be interesting. Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, you have this kind of clay face skin structure with some little textures and stuff there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we could do the same thing here on this side of this leg, and again we'll just have it where it's just kind of open, so that you still got some tissue, you know, kind of like armor pieces where they cover up, where you cover up position like your arm, but you have to have the flexibility of moving your arm. That's why you don't have an armor piece there, because in actuality it wouldn't move. So nature also mimics a lot of that too, so it'd be something similar in a sense. And I like the fact that he's all wrinkly. It's pretty fun to draw. Maybe to indicate that's a layer, we'll add another line on it to give it a little bit more depth. So make it pop just a little bit. Not all over the place, but just enough, you know, to indicate some things. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I was holding spacebar, but this keyboard, it likes to stick. Drives me crazy. See, I put these little dots and circles to try to indicate, hey, this is skin here too, you know. And there's probably, you know, like I said, I would refine this a lot better after a while, but man, sometimes it's just nice to sit around and play. All right, just enjoy the process. And I'm thinking, have you said that a few times tonight, Legacy? Yeah, pretty a few times, I guess. Huh. I don't know if the cross-hatching will work there. Let's see. Kind of like in rocks, you have those little angles and stuff. Maybe putting it out like that. You know, just to kind of break up these wavy lines too, to indicate that this is another texture, another source of another material, instead of having the same stuff everywhere. So I like it. Yeah, I do like the idea of having that a lot better than just the skin. I'm gonna go back to that. Let's see. Basically just covered the top of his foot up. Still leave enough. Man, this be a pain in the butt to animate, especially how wavy it is. Oh man, if you were trying to draw this, because it would constantly change you know, to try to add the model. But if you put it in 3D, it would work. It would definitely be a challenge. I think I want more of it wider there. Trying to get that thing. It's still not switching over for some reason. Did you? Layers where his foot would bend and come out. Well, I keep doing that tonight. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of messing together in a sense. It's really like a more identifiable on this side. So the different like little bone structure, exoskeleton, whatever you want to call it, on there, where it's a little bit cluttered over here, so it would definitely have to go over it with the ink, and where the lines would be a little bit thicker and then a little thinner here to kind of pop that out, I think. Also, I want to make this toe a little bit more same as the other one. But yeah, it's definitely different. I like it. So maybe too on we'll do the kind of traditional for the chest here to get rid of this nicely rounded structure of the foundation for my skeleton, you know, body template proportions and everything, and just try to do something interesting with it too, where it's layered instead of being so rounded. Still want to identify that there's a chest there, but you know, maybe I'll go down here too. Like you see a lot of artists do that kind of thing too, where they have like the six-pack or your abs as it were, and turn that into a part of the exoskeleton as well, where it covers up portions of it here. That'd be neat, I think. Yeah, I mean, there's some things we do that you see used a lot just because it works. It just, for some reason, it works. So why fight it? So, like I say, you still got a very human kind of structure on some things, but since he is a bipedal form, I would imagine that he's going to have some of that there, but I still got to work out the groin area as well. Like, do I put an exoskeleton over like he's wearing superhero tight pants? Do I make it where it's more natural? You know, do we need to see all that too? Like, let's see. Let's just cover up his unmentionables. That's where, if he has unmentionables. I mean, somehow they gotta reproduce, right? Or maybe they don't reproduce. Maybe they're asexual. Maybe they form themselves in eggs or plants, or, you know, that's another wonderful thing about creating things that don't always fit with reality, because you can go crazy. And as long as it has a believable source of, what's the word I'm looking for? As long as the story is somewhat, you know, you don't lose your sense of disbelief, it works. So, but yeah, I don't like the fact that he's so rounded, though. I do want to break that up some. I want to have some jaggedness there. Oh, of course, it's not playing the next song. Just me talking. Thank you. Let's go with Finding the Balance. I had someone say to me recently, like, man, you've been having a lot of problems on some of your streams lately, and you just roll with it. And I'm like, that's life. That's how you do it. I mean, it stresses me out sometimes, that's for sure, but why worry about it? There's not much you can do. And I think that shows more real of what we deal with when we're working and stuff, when we're just dealing with life and just rolling with the punches. Is sometimes the best way to handle things. Instead of worrying about every little thing that you cannot control, because in their actuality, we control nothing except what we do with our time. There's going to be a lot of shadow in here because a lot of that's going to be covered up, but okay. So let's look at this arm. Now that we got this exoskeleton idea going on that we started here, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and just keep on building up on that. I don't like those lines. They're too, like, they're not, I want to make an indication, not add all that. It's one of my favorite Kevin MacLeod's little bits. He's done a lot of cool music, so I like a lot of his stuff. It's like, it's not like elevator music per se, you know. I mean, even though he has a couple of that where I think he's poking fun at elevator type music, but it's relaxing, but it doesn't put you asleep, and it feels like it's actually what he's been going on with themes about stuff, trying to get people, you know, like, this is an action theme for a movie, or this is for a game, or this wonder thing, or fantasy. I think he does pretty good at that. Indications of some holes, like maybe it's not perfectly sealed, you know, maybe there is some holes here and there. Maybe it's on the back end. It's like it almost encompasses them, but like I said, you got that opened skin tissue area around it. And no, it looks kind of weird for his arm to kind of go through this. I think it's appropriate for this kind of Popeye arm, forearm type thing. I don't know. We have to keep playing with it, see what we come up with. But maybe it's like really stretchy in here, and you know, where it stretches out and it's almost elastic. So, or rubbery, as it were. Pretty sure its forearm is definitely going to be encased a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do like the Thing type thing with like in Marvel's comics, The Thing, where you have like this type of structure here where you got all of this over and over where it's like different rocks. Even though it works, I still think I want to use more of these big segments instead. I mean, that could also be like right in here where I could throw it in on that, but I think I like the bigger segment covering with a little bit of the skin tissue out there a lot more than just little rock segments. Even though that was a nice design done by Jack Kirby. That's for certain. It's too round. You need to make it jagged. Well, these songs ain't lasting very long, are they, chat? Alright, let's go. Actually. Yeah, so it's like his forearm is like almost completely, you know, like he could block things with it. You know, maybe take a plasma blast or a blade or something would get chipped on him. like this. Alright, as always, a fun part, the hands. Okay, so if I'm like this, you're gonna see, yep, you are your best model. Sometimes. So if we're gonna go here, we're gonna go out, close that, thumb's gonna go right about here. And if you notice, I'm getting thicker when I do this because I'm not certain if it's right. This is one thing I notice about myself that I do. So I have to kind of like put it down like this is line. This is line here. Yes. Okay. This looks kind of weird, doesn't it? A little bit. I was trying to keep up. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's make our life easier and rotate it so I can look at my hand a little bit better and see if I can get it right. There we go. And I know he's got like these really big fingers, so I'm trying to judge based upon my 5-finger hand, you know, which way is this gonna work. But again, reference. You always need reference at some point. Okay, that worked. We're just quick putting a little fist down. So, and making it still kind of big. Probably see a little bit right here. So, we'll keep with that whole segmented type mentality over the fingers in certain areas where we have this tissue underneath or nearby on the sides. Probably couldn't have too much here because that's where the wrist would bend, but we can go right there. Oops, too much, too far out. We can do it right here for his knuckles. Maybe on the top of the hand, of the back of the hand. That kind of covers that up, and just leave the skin texture here. Put a couple wavy lines and get all that together. Control Z that, and there we go. But here's the other problem with this thing though, because there are so many lines, and I love lines and textures, this would take our time to render. So the way I would have to probably go approach this to render it out as I put it together would be to, like I said, do some thicker lines on the pen. So let's just do a little bit of that, even though normally I would probably redraw this again, or I would tighten it up a little bit more. But we're going to see what that looks like. So just to see. And again, character concepts, play with it, have fun with it, enjoy what you're doing, don't be stressed about it, you know. And I'm also, when I tell these people are like, why are you always telling people? Because I also have to tell myself these things. That's part of what I do. Oh man. So I'm going to switch. I'm gonna make myself a new layer and then get more music going. Let's try Frozen Star. Wonder. And let me see if I can get that to actually start playing everything. Oh no, he wants to. When I switched it. Be nice when things work. Okay, we got find a balance, find a balance. All right, we're going to add to play queue. Okay. Hopefully that will actually make it do what I need it to. But anyway, so I use these pencil brushes that I got offline. They're Grit brushes. They're really good. I really love it. It's still, I mean, that's pretty close to, as you guys can see, just to give you all examples. Like, this is me with a 2B pencil and maybe a mechanical pencil because I like mechanical for the structure. And so it's pretty close, even though this is a little darker, because I'm still trying to judge like how much I do, because I chose a grayer tone, more of a pencil tone, but I've also drawn with this thing like in brown and everything too, like different colors to see what kind of textures and stuff. But it is pretty close to what I tried to accomplish, you know, I mean, to my actual like line work. I'm getting better, at least. That makes me happy. It's always great day when you get better. Okay, but again, I'm using these. It took me forever to find them, and I know you can make your own brushes. I'm just not good at that. And I also, for my pens, I use RM Digi, which is another set that I found. And these sets that I found are really cheap. And if anybody is ever interested in seeing where I got those for yourself, just send me a message or let me know, and I'll be happy to put it in a link. Okay, so we need black, not gray, and make sure we're on. Yep. You know what? Since I marked that wrong anyway, we're gonna do that. So I'm at a 10. That still might be too thick. So I'm gonna back out and kind of see for a second before I commit fully to that. Oh, I don't know. It might pop a little bit. It might actually pop really well at a 10. It's a 10, I mean, size of brush. I usually try to stick to like a 7 or 8 to make sure I don't have it. But looks like the side of this may need a 10. You know, it's kind of like varying your brush size, like you would the pen and stuff, because not always you're able to do it with the sensor. But I like it. But again, I'm putting this on another layer because not only I just don't want to ruin what I've already done, and so I don't lose that structure. And that's one of the reasons why I like working digitally, because this is a perfect example of why, because I can do this stuff and not ruin it. I know I'm probably driving people crazy. This is why I did it on my No Man's Sky. I kept doing the lines over and over instead of just letting it flow. Because I don't know what it is when I get to the cleanup part or when I do the line, I just want it to be that beautiful one stroke instead of. So it's been a journey. That's why I was forcing myself on the advice of cohorts to push myself more to give it a more natural flow, so it looks more like my line work and not this mechanicalness that I get sometimes. Yeah, I'm a big fan of electronica music and techno. Years of playing video games. Yeah, I like the roundness where it's more friendly instead of being pronounced where it looks like pincers. More so, you know. Oh, I'm gonna keep that though, cause nah, I don't want to. Well, nah, it's not right. You guys in the chat are like, here he goes again. All right, so yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah, I love how just a little bit of ink, a little bit of black can just make something pop out. So it's like it just changes. It's like you know, that when you do the step-by-step process, when you draw in pencil, as it were, or your sketch, and then you add ink, and it becomes a whole other piece, and then when you add color, it becomes a whole other piece. But lately, the past few years, I've just enjoyed doing things black and white instead of doing things in color. I don't know why. I used to couldn't stand black and white. I loved it. I appreciate it for what it is, but I thought everything had to be in color, you know, for me to feel like it was completed. And now I'm like totally the opposite. Okay, see, I want a little thicker line there, but I don't want this 10 line really on some of the rest of it because I don't want it to be too pronounced, but I do want this one arm to at least the back end to be a little thicker because I do a lot of dead weight. I don't know if you guys know what dead weight is, where you have a thicker outline of a contour of the figure or whatever, but then you have tinier outline, tiny lines on the inside to kind of balance that out. But again, lately I've been trying to just push myself to use more of an organic and not have this such a big, strong containment line. You know, and it's a process, especially when you're used to doing some things, because we develop habits and you just do it and you do it. So this is nice for me to be able to just kind of play around and not allow myself to do what I would normally do. And now you can see a little bit better what I meant about how these lines could look. So we're going to go back in here and thicken that out so we can cover some of that up. So you can balance it out, as it were. Ooh, I like the way this is coming. I like it, chat. I like it. It kind of looks like he's got this crustacean type thing, maybe, for the exoskeleton type. Almost like, see, I have another Sima character that had something like this. But I'm going to play with that, around with that a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and get these lines down so we can pop that out before I finalize that hand. So... Ah! I lose control of my hands sometimes. They shake really bad. But hence another relying on the pin tool too much. So I want to copy what I did there, but not as pronounced. Or as much. Like, I gave this a lot of structure to spread out, but yeah, I just want to indicate this right here, like where it's there, but not give it so much. Hey, song change. There we go. That's nice, at least. We're back to the Frozen Star, though. The wonder, but you know, at least it changed. Again, right here where that would bend would be, I want to try to space that out. I think we would see more of the front of this. That's why I'm not drawing so much of the back end. I don't know, I kind of like it's, you know, don't know, it's all interesting. Ah, the beauty of art. I love it. This stuff makes me happy. Just enjoying creating and stuff. It's just, it's beautiful, isn't it? Take something, like I said, taking lines that don't mean anything on their own and compiling them, composing them together to form something magical. At least, hopefully magical for everybody else, but magical for me at least. Yeah, I know I'm not really following completely to what I drew in, but again, that's part of the process where sometimes you don't keep those lines. Sometimes you, like I said, you let the piece tell you. Let it tell you, you work with it, it works with you, type thing. And it's interesting too how you can take little lines like this, just little dab of a line, and then little circles, basically is what they are, and dots, and make it appear as it's got a different texture, a different structure. It's just tiny little lines, you know, but the placement of where those lines could go, where it naturally flows, just, I think, brings things out. Oop, too big of a spot. Still too big. It's kind of hard with that brush being that size. I'm gonna go stay on 8. I don't need that as much. So let's zoom out. So you see what I mean? So there's a little bit of the skin there. I know I added some more rocky texture, more exoskeleton, but you can tell how there's only these little tiny lines, so it's not so pronounced. It's still, once I zoom out, it's still pretty busy. So I may want to go back and thin some of these lines out again. We're a smaller brush size, so it won't be so pronounced. And then again, it kind of works. So I don't know. I mean, what I really wanted was just a thicker outline on this side. And I could do that. I could get another, I could go over this again over here and make it pop a little bit more. But again, it may get too heavy if I do that. So I don't know. It's just interesting. But let's get up here and indicate this. We're at size 8. Whoops. I hate these strokes sometimes like that. Close. I may have to rotate it. At least the rotating is working tonight. The other night I couldn't get this thing to rotate at all. It would not do it, and then it started. My Photoshop crashed, and I had to redo it. And then when I was on YouTube this past Sunday, oh my god, it did not want to work with me either. So I was having all kinds of problems. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I do want to follow these lines. Those are nice lines. Let's go over here with this structure. So if we look at that, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. It still indicates that it's there, but it's not as pronounced as this, but it kind of thins out right here. So, I mean, potentially, I think too, not only in character creation, when you're trying to make something believable, that it's the anatomy is believable with the character, what it's wearing, the structure, whatever, but you also want to make sure, to me, make the eye flow where people's eyes graduate naturally to certain locations. And if you notice yourself, the reason why I'm pointing out that leg, and maybe it's too thick, is that my eyes are graduating straight to that over and over. So is that an indication because it's the only thing really inked a lot, compact together, that's why? Or is it that it's just too much? You know, and this looks a little bit odd right here, so I may have to restructure that. Plus, if I erase some of this out here and made it more of the skin tone like right there instead, that will help break that, all that those jumbled lines up. So might do that. Go back to 10 for a minute. Try to thicken some of this out so it pops in different places that I want it to. Maybe we'll have a multi-layer of the cheek where it's like maybe when he breathes, that instead of us like when we breathe, like it's layered down, it's like, and you see like an accordion, if you can imagine, where he's breathing in and out and it's moving that. And that's kind of the neat idea I think would be here, just to do that underneath all this exoskeleton structure, just have that there where you see this kind of like flow of like him, like the skin, like, you know, indicating that. That's a possibility. I kind of like the idea, and like I said, this is what is beautiful about creating. You just keep playing with it. So I know I like this shape. I don't know if this 10 is going to be too big for it. Kind of lost the line when I was here, even though I like it, and we're not going to see the whole curve, of course, because of where it's located, but I still want it to still match up with that. But I don't want, let's see, I keep drawing over that one. Yeah, I kind of like the indication that there's some nostrils there. Maybe he's got two nostrils. Maybe he just eats with his tusk, or maybe he has multiple lungs where he can breathe at different locations, or it's a survival instinct, it's a survival adaptation of his genetics. Maybe he breathes through his mouth and knows like we do, and so he has two things instead of having to rely on one thing, you know. Plus, or like an elephant, maybe his mouth is hidden underneath there, and he's got two areas to breathe, two places to, kind of like the Doctor from Doctor Who has two hearts, you know. It's the same kind of thing. It's like a secondary bypass, a secondary system to supplement everything else. Maybe they have huge lung capacity, maybe they can breathe and hold their breath for a long time, you know. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this stuff is that you, like I said before, you think about this stuff when you're creating, and that's where the process kind of comes from, and it also will dictate a little bit on how you put it together. like the piece, like trying to think of the reasons why can actually help you draw, like you would as if you're telling a story, or a writer. Because let's think about this, as an artist, creating characters and stuff, when you create things out of your imagination, they don't exist. So if you come up with viable ways for it to make sense, because you are the director, you are telling the story, you know, and your character should say something, even if you don't know all the details as to why this character exists or why he has certain things. It's a good thing to kind of, I think, to kind of think about that as you're drawing, or at least, and then show off your drawing to someone and let them look at it and say, well, what do you think of this? And sometimes you'll see things that people will put together and they go, well, I think the character could do this. I think it's what it looks like. It looks like he's doing this. And you probably, like, give you an example based upon, it's like, well, I think the character doesn't have a mouth, that he eats everything through his trunk. I was like, that's gotta be crazy. I didn't even think of that. You know, I mean, you could do it that way, you know, let people kind of see how it puts together. Now, if you have like a list of stuff, you know, where you're designing something specific, then, you know, you want to give that client, that employer, whatever they're asking for. But if you're just creating things off the cuff, kind of like I am, and I have, like I said, a general knowledge of what these characters, this race of people are and what they do, but I still like leaving things open sometimes, because I have worked, like I said, with so many different artists over the years, and they can take my crazy idea that and turn it into something that I never even thought was possible, or I wouldn't even thought of. That's, again, working with other people can be really amazing, not just forcing yourself to grow and learning and playing off each other's energy and your thought process and stuff. So that's really nice, you know, but also helping you see things to become a better creator, a better artist, a better just person in general, let's say. Yeah, I kept that little hair. I think I want to put some of the little hair too, like up here. Not really eyebrows per se, but just like little indications of that little hair. Like he's just got these little fibers of hair for some reason, you know. Oop, listen to me, hand. Listen. Bum, bum, bum. Dun, dun, dun. Again, it's very nice, soft tone of music, but still, it said something, you know. So we're gonna put those layers in. That one I don't think matches up well enough. Oop, too close. Dun, 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 dun. I think I want to go up to an 8. Let's go to 9 to do his ear. Oh, my pad will not go up to there. There, now it's doing too much. Alright. It's not exactly what I meant, pad, but that'll work too. We'll just have some fun with that and race it out. Keep that Batman cowl ears. Whoops. Now, because I'm zoomed in so much, I can't see kind of my sketch. So I need to back out a little bit. And it gets really jumbled anyway with all those lines, doesn't it? So let's mess around with this ear a little bit more. Since we have that exoskeleton there, we don't have to worry about some of that being seen. I'll put some hairs in his ears too. Why not? I think I actually already did that, but I can't remember. Just to break up that texture a little bit. And again, I could ink some of this in and make it darker, but I think I would want to like play around with some color too on top of it, just to see how it would work. And you know, and do that instead of trying to like darken so much. But again, I may need to just to break up some of this lines. So it's gonna be a lot of heavy lines here. So I think I'm gonna worry about these outlines of this structure some at this level. Let's go back down to 8. Let's thin some of this out. I think I'm gonna make it where there's something wrong with this eye. I don't know yet. Ooh. I mean, that's the angle I wanted, but not where it went. Alright, let's make sure, since it's getting so heavy in here, I want to make sure if I use my hand, I don't want to put too much pressure down and make these lines too thick in here. So we can break some of that up. Break some of these spots and stuff up where it's just too much heavy line width. So I don't make it too busy, at least hopefully. So we'll see once I zoom out what it looks like. Oh, I lost control of the hand again. Alright. Not sure how I feel about that right there. It's okay. I don't know. This feels more natural. Or it's like it's going across, but it's not just completely, I don't know. It's just something about it like going down with gravity, as it were, makes it feel more flow, like it's supposed to feel more organic or natural, but I don't know. We have to just play with it and see what I come up with. These little dainty hairs. sure. Oh, we already heard that. Let's go that way. Oh, that was the one we were hearing. Why is it playing that weird? Oh my goodness. Let's go back to a long time coming. That I don't want to do there. I don't know why my mind gravitated to that. Like, I want to go over there now. It's funny how that works out. I don't want to play with that. I'm done over there. Aren't I? Aren't I? Alright, let's zoom out. Yeah, see, it's not too much, but it still feels busy, you know, because of all those little lines. And I may be overdoing it, you know, because that's what I'm notorious for doing. So I may still have to play around with it, you know, just to see how all this new. But I do like the structure. I like the vibe it's giving me, you know. It's definitely interesting. Let's do a little bit more, and then I'll pop some color on it real quick just to see what it would look like. You know, we might try a couple color pieces to see if it pops a little bit, if it's still too much. I'm going to go back to a higher brush size though, because I want to get these lines to pop out more. But again, this is one of my problems sometimes. Like, I get lost in all those beautiful, beautiful lines, and then I make too many of them. So I sometimes will have to go back and erase stuff out, even though I'm like, but I like that line. But again, this is all part of the process. But you gotta be willing to, as an artist, to, when you're doing this stuff and when you're messing around with your pieces. There was a teacher who told me, don't get too attached to your piece. Don't get too attached to your art, because you got to be able to make changes if you need to. If the piece calls for it, or you just really screwed up, you know, you got to be able to change that and let that go. Don't say this is the only way it can be done, because that's just being closed-minded. So you can tell I've heard a lot of different things over the years. I've been blessed to have a lot of wonderful teachers, both in structures in a school type setting and also fellow cohorts, and who really do give me a hard time about my craziness when it comes to certain things. The reason why I do so, and hence was another reason why I wanted to try this tonight. It's like, well, maybe this will help me loosen up a little bit. I won't be so rigid about everything and worried. So yeah, we got the little unmentionable area. We'll just go there. Oh nope, I didn't want that. I wanted to go down. Do as I say, not as I do. Go back to that little structure in between. Don't want to do it too much though, but I want to draw those lines, let me tell you. So, but like I said too, when you're growing, you have to be okay with what you are doing and accept. I've said this before in some of my other streams, you know, you just gotta accept who you are sometimes too, and be willing to grow, be willing to keep pushing yourself and experimenting. Sometimes also remember, you started drawing because you loved it. You did it before you could ever make money at it, if you're doing this professionally or not, or the potential to make money. You did it because you enjoyed it. And if you could hold on to that, as a good friend told me, if you could hold on to that passion of that initial love when you first picked up a pencil, a paintbrush, whatever it was, and just enjoy what you're doing, then none of the rest of it matters, because that's why you do it in the first place. Because we have to create, we have to draw, we have to do these things. It's in us. You can't fight it forever, that's for sure. Even if you just do this stuff as a hobby, you know, or, you know, I know people who just enjoy making things. Sure, they want to be better or do that, but they don't have that drive to do that. But they do need to, like I tell some of them, I know personally, you still need to push yourself. You still need to grow, because that's going to help you grow, and you have no idea where that could take you, you know, or where you might end up, or what pieces you might make that you could be proud of, that you accomplished it, you know. But the main thing is love what you're doing. Have the creative passion to love what you're doing, even if you look at your work. Like, I will probably look at this tomorrow and go, this sucked. I hate this thing. What was I thinking? Why was I enjoying it? Because that's what you need to do. You need to be able to enjoy what you're doing while you're doing it. Worry about tomorrow later. Worry about perfection later. Perfection comes in time. Well, there's no such thing as perfection per se, but you get what I'm saying, I hope. Okay. All right. So again, not happy about that. So I would play around with that later on and see. But let's pop some color on this thing, though. We're gonna go down. We're gonna put the layers underneath because I want my ink line to show. And I don't know. I'm feeling gray. You know, still going in that mentality about with like the elephants and stuff. So maybe that. Let me get some more music so you guys don't just have to hear my voice. Go in here and we'll try to do this again with this silly thing. So I'm gonna go back to a general brush though, because I want to, especially if I'm just popping flats down, I want to be able to not have to worry about excuse me, I don't want to worry about it being a I'll use a hard round, any smudges and stuff or whatever, if I'm just going to put a single color down. Now I could switch to some of the markers or more of the paintbrush style of doing things, so it doesn't be more natural, but since I'm kind of just popping color down anyway. See, I like this darker gray. It kind of brings that together. But I feel like the exoskeleton needs to be some kind of skin tone. Some kind of, not black per se, even though that could work. But that gray is pretty heavy too. It's pretty dark. We could use that for the inside. So let's see. I'm gonna go over here and I'll make a little swatch in case I decide to use this color. So let's go on the inside, and maybe too with this color being a little darker, when we use a lighter gray or some other lighter color, it will help pop that a little bit more. So, whoop. E for eraser. Does not like me tonight. So I'm gonna say we see some skin there or whatever. I'm just gonna play around. Alright, so we got this little gray. So let's go with a lighter gray. We'll put this over here as a swatch in case we like this color. And go over this section and see how that forms together. So it kind of works, you know, to a degree. I mean, if I wanted to go with a very gray-like structure with this critter in keeping with the gray coloring of the elephants, which I might do. But what we can do, what I love, like I said, what I love about digital is that we can play around with this and see what we come up with. And just try some different color patterns. But I like putting little swatches to the side like that, So if I do see, like, when I go to try some different colors out here, I can just go back to it quickly and I don't have to remember. Especially if I adjust the color a little bit so it doesn't, you know, it's not straight from the swatch, because sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta make it a little bit lighter, change the hue a little bit. So, but we're just gonna do this for now. Get rid of some of that. And I'm gonna go over this part, even though I didn't. Wait, what are you doing? Oh, I'm still on eraser. I do not like this bloody keyboard. Alright. I know I didn't draw that part, ink that in, but it might be unnecessary anyway. So again, sometimes you can let the color dictate for you. You don't need all of those lines. Lesson I'm still learning. We're just gonna go ahead and just pick this one tone here. Let's see how this looks. I'm going to go ahead and control save this in case I crash, which I normally would be doing. But so let's break all that up. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, I do kind of like this gray. This whole gray mentality. Let's go over here and color this in. Make this darker. Of course, this is just flats. You know, there's no tones, there's no shadows, there's no indication of things, but sometimes that's all you need to get started. It's just the flats themselves, you know, and putting all that together. And then you go back and add all the beautiful stuff. But just like a friend of mine told me too, one of the things about color is that color is just a tone. It's a shade. It's not, it's all black and white. At least it is to him, because he's colorblind. And he's the best colorist I've ever met in my life. Alright. Another reason why I have that swatch there too, so I don't accidentally, whenever I go switch back to kind of cover up this where I've gone into it, I don't click on the black lines of the ink and sample that instead. Ah, lovely speech impediment. Okay. Oh, I kept forgetting. I'm not doing dark gray there. I'm doing light gray, or a lighter gray. Since I didn't get that right just yet, I'm not going to worry about coloring that part in until I redo that the way I would like to see it. So, but let's get some more of this in here so we can get a good idea of what we're trying to accomplish. At least in theory. will put that there because I do like that little separation. So, what? I think I'll just make that gray there too. Alright, come on. Keyboard, work with me here. Alright, so... yeah, I think that still would be skin. Right there, I do believe. And go back here. And let's fill this in. See how that looks. Just go ahead and just fill it all in. Worry about it later. Okay. This would actually probably be either darker or lighter on the inside, I would imagine. But just want to get an overall look how this could possibly be. I'm just going to fill this in too, even though I didn't ink all that in yet. So, but we're just going to fill it in like its body's there. Alright, Control 0. Wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm kind of glad I did put all the lines and stuff in. But that's a pretty cool look. I like it. I really do. It's interesting. I mean, he still has that whole elephant feel. Because of the head, the trunks, and everything, but he's got this weird crustacean kind of exoskeleton thing going on. I think I might change his hand since he's got 3 feet. I might go with the turtle thing where it's the bigger thumbs and stuff, or just make it 3 and bigger like I was trying to do there. But yeah, I like that. Now, let's see. Just to add something else to it. What color am I still on? Okay. And of course, this is not done. This is not fully rendered. This is not fully worked out. You know, there's still a lot of steps that would need to be done. Like, you see all this stuff I missed here. I would have to go back and clean all this up. But again, it's just creating and working it out. Sometimes works better than trying to make something and be rigid, as it were. So I want to give him... I want to say blue. I don't know why, but maybe blue's got good contrast with that. But that's woo. That's where you pronounce blue, though, right? It's like I'm blue, but that's straight from the swatch. Maybe a little bit like it's a hazy blue with the purple. You know, let's try that. Yeah, see, that tones it down. A lighter blue. It's not like, yeah, blue. I'm blue, da-da-dee-da-dee-da. I mean, again, I might make it brown. I might make it gray or whatever. But just to see how that flows. All right. So I'm going to save this. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to make a copy. So, I always suggest this, you know, if your computer can handle it, like, this is how I process. Like, I'll make a copy so I don't screw anything up, like if I blot out the page or whatever. So, but let's see. So let's try some different colors, chat. Let's see what else we can come up with. I got some different prismatones. Let's see how a brown might work. Let me make sure this layer's off. Let's see how brown works on it. So that's a dark brown, so we'll go there. Ugh, that's really dark, but it's also very, very red. That's a little bit better. It's got a little bit of mix of a red. So, I mean, the contrast there. So let's play around with that. See what we come up with. Kind of like that though, that even with the gray, it's got a different take, a different structure to it, you know, like a kind of different appeal. So if we go with a lighter brown per se, or a tan, or more in that area, that's more of a skin tone right there per se, which this is also a skin tone. They're both skin tones, but I don't like that. I don't like the contrast there. That's a little too light, don't you think? Like, still. So let's go back to the original source, the color that we were looking at, and yeah, it's definitely in the red family. I thought so. Let's just lighten that up a little bit. So, but this says something different, doesn't it, chat? Like, when you see this red, it almost now to me says this is an armor. This is not a natural skin, you know. But it does make it more pronounced, you know, and it's a whole different feel. So now the character has a whole different feel to him than just having the gray of what I started. And again, I like this one too. I like the way this looks. I like how this plays. And this is, like I said, the beauty about working in digital. And you do this too with markers or whatever. You would get copies of things. You would play with it until you get, you know, or the director or whatever, or whoever's in charge of the project would decide upon that. And so you would have different versions of this. So again, I'm going to keep those, and then we'll make another layer, because I love making layers. And we're going to see. Let's go with green. Let's see what green does. What do you think, chat? Let's see. Ooh, that's interesting. Ooh, but look at that red with that reddish brown with that. It's like kind of Phantasy Star, Halo, bright color, sci-fi kind of look. I don't know if I really like it in the green, but I do like the contrast between the two. Huh. Let's see if we can make that green a little darker. See what happens when we do that. See, that makes it feel a little bit more natural to me. Now the skin is coming out more, and that's more pronounced. You know, color changes everything too. Like I said, it becomes a whole different piece while you're trying to figure it out. And let's go with our blue family and see what blue does for us. Oh wow! I kind of like the way these two are paralleling off each other. That's interesting to me. That's a nice little contrast. You got that more lighter color, cooler, mixing with the warm and balancing. I mean, there's a reason why we have the RGB family too. But that's kind of neat. Again, it feels very sci-fi. It feels very 80s sci-fi, very video game sci-fi, cel shaded. And this is another reason why I don't do color that much, because I can be here forever. So, but I do like it. Now let's try that too. We'll put that color down so we can mess with it a little bit easier. And I am going to select our darker gray. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, wow. See, it changes the whole look. It lightens it because it's kind of near the same family. So this could be an armor that naturally grows on them, like a natural exoskeleton, and it forms around. Maybe they shape it. Maybe it's or maybe it's just a way they create armor, where it's more organic, the material that they're using. So it's very interesting. there. I see gray. Oh, I see those little red spots here. Oh, I did the whole thing. Whoops. It's really bad when you're not zoomed in sometimes. Yeah, I mean, that works too. I mean, that's an interesting kind of take. Because, you know, if we go pure black, you're not going to see nothing, really. I mean, it's just, blech. I don't want that. And if we go yellow, no. Yellow's hard to contrast with sometimes. Let's see what a purple would look like. Yeah, see, purple and gray usually go well together. So again, beautiful. I mean, different structures. And if this was for a game, you know, and you were looking to do something very quickly for, like, let's say like in a beat 'em up or something, or a 2D thing where you see the same character over, or like in Halo with the elites, you know, you had the model with the different colors, which makes it identifiable to the player that this is an upgraded version, because you have the gold elite and the blue elite is the regular soldier. So you can do stuff like that too. It's just dependent on what you're doing this stuff for. But ironically enough, I really do like the gray, but I really like this. There's something about this one, which is not what I would have chose, or what I would have thought. That I like that one more. But I would have a toss-up between this gray with the regular kind of elf influence and that. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that. You guys who are watching this now and be watching this later. I hope this was a lot more enjoyable too, a lot more interesting than my last stream too, because man, I was just so frustrated with myself. But again, I will be finishing that No Man's Sky piece soon. I'm gonna be working on that and getting that finished. I may do that as a Let's Draw video on my series on YouTube, and finishing it up there, and just do a whole time lapse, because I have a lot of those where I used to do time lapses and speed it up. But I've really enjoyed this tonight. I think I will probably be doing more of these like this, especially if you guys really enjoy seeing stuff like this and then can matter my rambles. But like I said, I'd be curious to see what you think. And this Friday for game night, we're hoping to be able to do Wizard 101. But it just depends on if I can get all that sorted or not. So, but I will definitely let you guys know Friday when I show up, or I'll let them know hereby on my social media. And feel free to join me on all my social medias, or if you're curious about my work or any of the stuff that I do, feel free to contact me on any of my social media, or contact me at talktomelegacy717@gmail.com. As always, my friends, be good to each other, and never stop dreaming, and get out and start doing some art. Cheers.